Folder B, that's what you wanted
Yes.
on? Okay. It's going.
Call the meeting to order. It's 5:31. Those present, 3 commissioners, the chief, the deputy chief, Kathy, and Paul Blaisdell. And we also have a gentleman from Laredo,
Jim Hardy.
Jimmy Howdy.
Hardy.
Okay. Maybe we should start with him, so we don't hang around here and listen to all the other stuff.
It's part of like the building committee part of it, so
So you just want us to move building committee up?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Tim, you want to start with that?
Yes, so the building committee met last night. Jim was there. We reviewed and discussed, we didn't review, we discussed the 2 proposals or 2 reports. A couple of the members of the committee had not had a chance to review prior to the meeting. We did have lengthy conversations about the 2 sites and some of the cost, and I will defer to Paul to maybe give you a overview of the recommendation or the discussions, and then we sort of planned a meeting for next Tuesday to allow those members to review so that the committee can make a recommendation to the commissioners. Now, I don't know if you had a chance to review the.
I did not.
No, I did. Both of them.
It's quite interesting, and Jim's certainly here to answer questions, but I think I'd prefer to have Paul give a synopsis of what yesterday's meeting was.
So everybody honed right in on the cost right off the bat, okay? And there was quite a long discussion about the cost of the 2 sites, and the Sanborn Road site ends up being about $2 million less expensive than the Park Street site. And both proposals are to put 8 bays in a building, okay? The Sanborn Road site is to build a building there and keep Park Street as it is, and that ends up being $5 million plus or minus. The Park Street, to make Park Street a single station, is fixing the existing building, bringing it to code, which is about $2 million, and adding 8 bays. So we would, in both situations, we would have 12 bays. There's a couple things that make Park Street more expensive. One of them is fixing the existing building, bringing it to code. The other is the site work. There's a lot of soil issues there. There's the potential for some underground tanks that are, or some underground soil issues, and maybe some utility relocation. But the bottom line is that the Sanborn Road site is flatter. There's less site work. The building there would fit the lot very nicely. In Park Street, it's going to be shoehorned in, and there's really no way to do a lot at Park Street without touching the existing building. So with that in mind, anything we do at Park Street means we're going to have to do some work there on the existing building. And so that was, the initial focus was directly on cost, and the Sanborn Road site seems to be less expensive. And then we kind of circled back to, well, what is the proposal and how do they differ? And that's kind of what I just described. In both situations, the new building would be 8 bays. And if I might quote Jim from last night, comparing the 2 sites, and this struck me to the point where I actually wrote it down. in comparing the sites, he says one is a nightmare and one is a dream. So with that in mind, we're going to continue our discussion next week. Lisa Martin, who is our civil engineer on the building committee, she's the one that we lean on when it comes to these building technical questions. Did not have an opportunity to read it, so we're going to lean on her next Tuesday when we vote on our recommendation to you. Now it's going to be your recommendation, which goes back to Jim for the continued work. Now, if I could kind of go off topic just a little bit and talk from my personal opinion is that, sure.
I just wanted to say, Lisa did read the report. She sent me an email about it today, and I can read it. She says, I completed the review of the reports. They were well written. I believe the chart answered my question of why Park Street needed more square footage than the sum of Park and Sanborn. Based on their chart, you will need or have less square footage with the two stations. Unless someone else has questions, I'm good. Then she did come up with a question afterwards, but it wasn't related to the reports, it was something else.
Now, there are two reports, a geotechnical report, which is borings and soil types and compression and stability and all this other stuff. All right, cut to the chase. Tell me, what do we have to do for gravel or for foundation work, and that's kind of built into the second report, which is the space needs study. So the space needs study is really what I focused on as far as my questions. But what I might suggest, and this is back to my personal thoughts, not the committee, is regardless of what we decide, regardless of what you decide for a site, I think when it comes time for the public outreach, we still should hire Jim and pay Jim to do at least a cursory design, if nothing else, just an outline, a layout, maybe a plan view of the alternate site. Just so that we can, because if you make one presentation, either one, people are going to say, well, did you look at the other site? And of course, we're going to say, yes, we did, and we reviewed it very closely. Well, show me, So at least if we have two easels, one of each site, and one with the pros and cons of one site, one with the pros and cons of the other, even though we're going to do a very detailed schematic design of one site, I think we should do a very cursory design layout of the second site for our community outreach. But that's, of course, that will cost money, and you guys hold the purse strings. So that's kind of where we went, focused on the cost first, and then we loop back around to square footage, what the design looks like, how many bays, how we're going to fit equipment, where the guys are going to go. We even discussed, the dorm rooms, things like that.
I would only like to add to that is, I thought it was kind of interesting, we had a cursory view of some of the rooms in the building. This document here is in your packet, but it's so small that
It's hard to see.
the only way to see it is if you pull it up on your computer and you can scroll through it, but somebody was nice enough to print off some giant
And I
copies.
brought a copy for each of you as well.
So this will answer some of the questions that we were having trouble with last night in regards to all the space. Now, what didn't come up, which I was kind of surprised, but again, maybe that will in the future, was the total square footage. Because the station at Park Street with the current building and the addition is over 20,000 square feet. And I was surprised that there wasn't more comments about, is the station, is there 20,000 square feet?
I think it's a little under, right?
Well, one of them was a little under, one was a little over, by my math.
The 20,793.
Yeah.
4,800.
Yeah, and I think when you total those up, you're at 19 something. So it's a little difference, but we're looking at a 20,000 square foot station, or stations, which I think is more than we originally thought we would need.
And one of the other things that you know, additional costs that are not in the report is, you know, the demolition of the Center Street station, which of course would have to be added. And also, if we went with Park Street, what would, there was some additional.
FF&E.
FF&E, which we don't know what that is
No,
yet.
no, not that, it was specific to Park Street.
Oh,
The demo of the existing building?
Yeah.
Stuff that's happened
Yeah.
there?
the demolition of the existing building, or maybe using the existing foundation.
Yeah,
And
if we,
then also a spot to lease or rent or whatever you needed for a temporary space.
So, yeah, the proposal that we have is using the current building at Park Street with bringing it up to code. Well, it was asked, what would be the difference of just tearing it down and starting over? And you know, there was some discussion as to what the cost would be, one versus the other. And then additionally, the cost of if you were working at Park Street, you would need to remove all the equipment from Park Street. And what would you do with it so you could continue to run the fire station during the construction period? And so where would that equipment all be housed, and what kind of cost would that include?
I think, I'm
So
sorry.
just thinking of that, I mean, could you build the addition and then do the renovation, or is it,
Cost you a lot more money.
okay, you can stop right there, because I know how
So one of the other things that we discussed near the end of the meeting was, you know, we had a committee, a building committee in 2019, and 3 of the members of the existing committee were also members of that committee, myself,
This is key.
Lisa Martin, and Kevin Waldron. And we had very specific directives from most of you gentlemen. Tim wasn't a member then, but John Silly was the member from the Board of Commissioners who was in our group. And basically, we had, the directives were to evaluate the viability of using Park Street as headquarters for a single station. The second one was evaluate using Park Street as a headquarters and adding a substation elsewhere in the district. The third was evaluate having a headquarters elsewhere in the district and use Park Street as a substation. The fourth was evaluate the usability of the station and land at Center Street. Fifth was, additionally, they are to look at the impacts of a student program and future additional firefighters. So our recommendations boil down to a majority of the committee recommended pursuing Directive 1, the design of Park Street Station as headquarters for a single station, okay? 6 out of 9 members voted for that. The other 3 voted for Directive 3, a headquarters elsewhere in the district and a substation at Park Street would better meet the current and future needs of the district, okay? Let's go back to Directive 1, which was the one that 6 out of 9 of us voted for. This recommendation is based on the following, and this is in the report, okay? The location is the geographical center of the district, okay? That hasn't changed, all right? Second one, the district owns the property, okay? So it's going to have the lowest cost, okay? That assumption was wrong, as you can see, okay? Significantly wrong, like 25% wrong. It simplifies and shortens the time to complete construction. Well, as we just discussed, it doesn't simplify it because we have equipment there. What do we do with the equipment? Okay? It doesn't shorten the time because we have to move that equipment, we have to demolish, or we have to
Selective demolition.
selective demolition, and we have to modify the existing building before we can add on to it, okay? That doesn't shorten the project time, okay? The infrastructure exists, so the costs in existing utilities already connected to the site. And the fourth one was, one station has the advantage of efficiency with one apparatus and gear location, okay? So out of the five, the points that led to the recommendation, two of them ended up being, you know, totally poor assumptions on our part, okay?
And the utilities.
And yeah, that's a good point, because the utilities are there, but some of them would have to be significantly altered. So yeah, that's part of the 2019 report. That is our final report. So that's just kind of a footnote to, you know, where we are today versus where we were in 2019. And I think it's important to note that how things have changed between then and now, and how our assumptions maybe weren't based, yeah, maybe they were anecdotal more than factual. And this is why it's so important to bring people like Jim and Tom and their company in on this, because now we have facts.
Just because you said utilities, just because you may not be aware, down on Sanborn Road, where you connect to water will be a difference of about $500,000. You would want to find out how to connect to where the police station is connected, because they are connected on the cheaper side of the hydrant. A very important thing to note, because the way that, what is that business park? Nickerson Business Park.
Business Park Drive.
Business Park Drive, they added water there. So whoever connects north, I'll say north of that hydrant, is going to have to contribute a good chunk of money to offset that cost that they outlaid, because that's how the hookup of the water department works. So,
Ponzi scheme.
well, I wasn't trying to use that word in public, but yeah. So now that's before the dialysis center went in there. But I was on the police building committee, and where we connected to that water was a $500,000 difference. So just to let you know, you might want to research that a little bit. But I believe you could still either tap into the police station water or their main, or at that hydrant somehow. On that side of the hydrant you want to connect.
There's also a well on that property.
There is a well, but it was mostly for irrigation, so I don't know what the pressure is, but there is a well. There already is an existing well on that
Have you seen
property.
that by the snack shed there?
Yeah, but that was to water the grass.
You still can use it to water the ground.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I'm just saying.
It depends on what the flow is. You might have enough for a sprinkler system too.
There's a couple things, I'd like to know why 14 bays?
No,
Why
12.
12 bays, why 12? We don't have enough equipment.
we have 11 pieces of equipment that need to be covered.
Yeah, but we also have 4 bays down there.
Right, so we'd be adding 8 either way. There's only 8 additional bays being
So you'd be
added.
adding just 8 up there.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
We
Yep,
utilize 8 in the existing.
yep.
Yeah, the other question, you gotta make it very clear that the land up there is not for nothing. They're not giving it to us. We're demolishing this building, and I believe we have to pave.
Well, you know,
I mean, that's gonna be.
That's a valid point.
You gotta add that in there, because that's extra.
That's a valid point, but you also have to remember, regardless of what you do, that building's coming down, one way or another.
I
And
agree.
the fire district is gonna have to pay for it. So any option, any future,
Unless you sold it. I mean, we have the option to sell it.
you can only sell it if you have a buyer.
You never know.
You never know.
And you never know.
You never know.
I've seen strangest things.
But that is a valid point, and the chief has gotten an estimate for the demolition of $70,000. So absolutely, that has to be added into it without question.
Yeah.
without question.
And I remember-
And actually, Jim stated last night that he's worked with a demolition company in Manchester who could do it for significantly less than that, and he's willing to work with us in order to make that happen. So,
And the other question, I am concerned, I remember we talked about the water thing there. If it would work, I mean, if we have to pay another $500,000 to hook into the water, that's got to take in consideration too.
yeah, well,
I mean, this,
yeah, no, you bring up valid points, Paul. This is not a formal quote for the building.
I understand.
And once you decide on what direction you're going, then those are all the questions that Jim and Tom and his group, his team, are going to answer for us. But we have to give them some direction. And if you want those questions answered ahead of time, then I'm sure he can do that. But the thing you have to keep in mind, and I've been trying to bring this up to the building committee, is if we want this in front of the district in 2024, we are on a tight schedule. We got to keep things moving. We can't wait a month for an answer, hence our meeting next week. We would have had our meeting tomorrow if we could have. So we scheduled our meeting as quickly as we could so that we could get an answer to you guys. Hopefully you can turn around with an answer to Jim as soon as possible after that. With whatever direction you guys want to go. And I'm sorry, I don't want to get up on a soapbox here, but the other thing we need to do, you guys and me and everyone else who's associated with this, is Jim is going to help us with the public outreach. It's our voices. It's our voices that are going to get listened to in this community. We're the ones that have to sell this. To bring people to the district meeting in March and show them this and have them look at this for the first time is not the way to sell it. They have to know full well what's happening at that meeting before they go to it. And the way to do that is to talk with them, to get them out to these public outreach sessions that Jim is going to organize. We have to be there, and we have to bring people there. We have to make sure people understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. Okay? This is the third one of these that I've been involved with. All right? I'm not going to be involved in a fourth one. All right? If it doesn't go this time, I'm taking a step back. All right? It's because the need for this is unquestioned. Okay? Nobody has ever said we don't need a new fire station. Well, I'm sorry, there's a couple that have. All right? It's not going to get cheaper. Tilton School, we had the opportunity to build one for $4 million on the Tilton School site, and we didn't because it was too expensive. $4 million looks like a bargain right now. And that was only, what, 7 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll
Okay.
zip it now. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Anybody got any questions?
I'm hoping that the information is clear enough so that when you read through it, you're not left with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I'm here to answer any questions if you have anything in the report that.
I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
When you talked about the Park Street property, there was talk of a retaining wall.
Yes.
Where on this picture would that retaining wall be?
The back side of the station is about a 6-foot drop off right now, but we have to put 4 feet in the wall, 4 feet in the ground for the frost wall.
Yeah.
So as you come back behind here, this whole wall.
So how would that affect that tower? Because there are utilities that run, and
Right through
Two
here. We brought that up last night.
and the new gas line that they just put in there, that would have to be relocated, I imagine.
So that does not feed into our cost because we didn't know at the time what your lease agreement is with them as far as whether they're removing it or remove it based on what your current agreement is with them.
Well, because I had thought that we had discussed that it was not gonna interfere with a future expansion, and then when I saw the disturbed ground, because I don't go that way that often, I was like, well, I'm not really good at picturing, but I'm pretty sure that's gonna be smack dab in the middle of a potential
When you look at
station.
the square footage that you need there, it pretty much takes up the whole site, all the way over to the edge of the tower.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I mean, it's a little tough because of the shadow, so I don't know exactly where the fence is, but it looks like the blue part is over the
Over the
fence.
fence a little bit.
Over the fence a little bit, and I don't know if that's just a shadow,
Yeah,
but
the
it's,
fence is back here,
Move this
Yeah,
pole.
it
that
is.
corner right there.
yeah, I just couldn't, just the way the shadows are, I couldn't,
Right.
you know, darn it, Google Earth for not
The
thinking of
easiest way
that.
to do it is Google Earth so everybody can see exactly what it's on the site.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's just,
What about going up to reduce the, now, I know, from what I understand, there's a break-even point where going up is cheaper than going out, but I don't know what that square footage point is.
So the foundation that you have now, I talked to Brian because of the questions that came up last night. Be the same amount of money as what we showed you last night and in your report to basically raise everything except for the foundation. Leave the foundation and go up. So the only thing is going a second story. I don't know if your foundation would support that, what you need to do. So we'd have to do an analysis on that and find out what it is. It would shrink your building back some, but some of the spaces that you have need to be on the first floor as well.
Oh, yeah.
But your decon and your laundry and your gear racks and things like that, those all need to be on the first floor, the guys who have the beds. So, it's not a full 100%
No, I know,
of that
yeah.
space would be
Yeah.
first and second floor, but maybe, you could probably 40% of it, maybe up there.
But then you add space for stairways and elevators.
Yes,
cost for
Cost.
elevators go up
Cost and
significantly.
space. Yeah.
That's why, I know there's like a point where there's a advantage.
Why just for the elevation change, and just, why wouldn't the bays be over here to make the elevation change easier? You know, because wouldn't it be easier to have an elevation change? I'm just curious.
Elevation change, it needs to be the same no matter what it is. You want your floor, your apparatus bay to be the same level as the other apparatus bay. You don't want to be running in between the
Oh, so you
dormers
need the
and-
retaining wall anyway?
Yeah, no matter what you do, that wall has to go in. Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking you'd need more, but yeah, okay, that makes sense, yep.
You know, and one thing that, when you look through the geotechnical report, the water on this site is much higher, the groundwater, than it is on Sanborn Road. Sanborn Road is much better draining material, so to keep the water from the roof and out of the driveways back off the street, there's a lot more money on this site than it is on Sanborn Road. There's a lot of material that needs to be removed from the site because of the septic system, the septic tank, and then at one point the floor drains are tied in there, so you have oil going into the tank from the trucks and whatever's on the driveway and in the parking area. So that is an unknown that we don't know yet until we start getting into the site and see what you have, if you have contaminated soils. There's also some wells that are on that site, and we don't know about migration or anything from those wells that comes forward. That was from the DPW yard, I believe, where the monitoring wells are. So there's a few things there. Sanborn Road is good gravel. There's some fill that has to be removed, but basically, if you lined it up with the existing building that's on the other side of the site, before it was divided, you could use the road in between the two as a road around the back of the station, so you can pull out on both sides. Park Street, you're only pulling out in the front, and if you have a double parked vehicle, whatever one's in the front, you've got to remove that in order to get the one out in the back. Whether you have that plan, I'm sure you would, where you're pulling two ambulances out on the same day, or one truck that's needed before another truck on the fire. But that's something to consider too. The convenience of Park Street is really not good for an emergency vehicle exit of any vehicle at any time. Where Sanborn Road, you can take off any vehicle out of any bay at any time.
One of the questions I had looking at the Park Street plan was, where are the employees gonna park? And, that is one question. And then from my understanding, the property line down there is with the highway garage is where? At the edge of this grassy island out front, and it runs, is that what this line is? Is that the edge?
Yes, yeah, and our property line goes way back here.
And then cuts across.
Yep.
So,
So the salt shed is just
You want the bigger
barely
one?
into their property. It's like a foot away from our property line.
so I guess with this layout, where are the employees parking?
So beyond, between the DPW and the fire station, I think there's like 4 or 5 spots over there right now.
Mm-hmm,
And then there's also, as you go further back, there's a shed there.
mm-hmm.
There's a couple parking spots there. And there's a gravel road behind the building.
Well, and I guess my next thought is, what happens when the town of Northfield decides to sell that piece of property that the highway garage is on, because it's worth enough money for it to be a commercial property? How does that impact, again, that parking over there on that side and getting to that parking? If this property's not available. I mean, everybody drives in now over the DPW property, and
Yeah, who knows how the curb cut would be, because it's a state road. I think it's a state road.
It is, yeah, it's 132.
you know, so you're assuming you're getting all that curb cut, but I'm just looking long term, you know, how many people are at the fire station at a given time? You've got, when the shifts change, you've got the current guys plus the guys coming in.
So there's a,
11. Well, you have the
and then you factor
four,
in,
and the chief, myself, Kathy, and then
So
Courtney.
you,
so there's 12
12, we need 12 parking spots,
minimum.
just for the employees.
just for employees minimum.
right,
Never mind if we're having a meeting or anything,
And or training,
or
Right.
well, training. Or
training, or the call numbers respond to a call.
Bare minimum, it's 12.
so I mean, some of the stuff behind here might be impacted because you might have to use some
I use
back
this
space
training facility.
for parking.
I mean, yeah, we could relocate a shed over here and make that all parking, right?
Potentially.
No. That would cost that much money.
One thing that really bothers me is having 2 stations. I was under the impression we were looking at just one. Everything had to be one place, not some equipment down there. Because what happens is, if the boat is not down, if the boat's down there, if something's down there, they need it, it's quite a ways to travel.
Well, I think one thing one misconception or misperception of the comment you just made is 2 stations. Park Street is not a station. Park Street is a garage.
It is a garage.
That's what it is, that's what it will always be, unless we do this. If we do this, then it's a station.
But one of the conversations we had last night, Paul, that I thought was eye-opening, you know, common sense kind of thing. We were talking about what pieces of equipment, if you built at Sanborn Road, what pieces of equipment would you have up at Sanborn Road? And we specifically talked about the tanker, and the chief was saying, well, you wouldn't put the tanker up at Sanborn Road because all your firefighters are already gonna have left with other equipment, and you're gonna need a call firefighter to bring that tanker if it's needed. And they're more local to the Park Street location, so you would leave the tanker at Park Street. So you know, some of it's logistics is that as calls roll out, who's going and what pieces of equipment are they taking? So do you really need everything up at Sanborn Road, or do you really need some of it down at Park Street for the call guys? I'm assuming the call guys are still gonna be going to Park Street.
And honestly, if one station at Park Street is your desire, there's the proposal, you know. It's a valid proposal. There are some question marks, but if that's your desire, there's a layout, there's an estimated cost, a very basic cost. And if that's the direction you want Mr. Hardy to go in, then that's what he'll do.
I was just, you know, it's the long-term cost too, what it's gonna cost you over the years to maintain the Park Street and this one up here. I mean, in 10 years, no, it's hard to say what's gonna happen in 10 years, but,
Well, Paul, you
maintenance-
bring up a good point, because that building was built in 1986.
somewhere around
So it's coming on 40 years old,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's gonna need
maintenance.
maintenance. So, yeah, maybe in 5 years, in the budget, we're gonna have to budget $200,000 or $300,000 to renovate it. It's a valid point. Now, if you take that, let's just say it's 500,000. You take that 500,000 and add it to this balance that we're trying to balance, right? The two different project costs. Are we still, where are we in that balance? Have we tipped the balance one way or the other? Or that's what we have to look at, absolutely. But that station, or that garage, whatever you want to term, will need maintenance, without question. And some of the issues, honestly, after reading that report from 2019, from the structural engineer, and reading the space needs report that referenced that engineer's report, I'm concerned about that building. I'm concerned about sheetrock on the ceiling when it should be plywood, in order to give it some of this lateral and structural stability. I'm concerned about that front wall with 4 giant holes in it, right? 4 doors in it, and the wind hitting that, and there being no triangular supports for that. Okay, so I think in the grand scheme of things, we should be thinking about doing some serious work there and resolving some of the issues that 2022 or 2021 structural engineer brought up. That was the one that Warren Street hired, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's very valid points.
Paul, when that building was built down there, did we have any full-time staff, or were we
Yeah,
still?
It was all volunteer.
And did we do ambulance at that point, or not yet?
Oh, yeah.
We were doing ambulance.
And there were, at one time, they had some offices in there. They set up 3 offices in there. They had one for the chief, which was Harold, and they hired a full-time secretary that was an EMT.
There were partition walls, they didn't go to the
Yeah,
ceiling.
no, they didn't. It was partition. They did have a roof on them, though.
Our bathroom in Center Street is made from those.
Yeah,
The one at downstairs.
they had a roof on
We
them.
used
They
to-
were small.
we reused it.
They were roughly about 10 by 10s, maybe a little bigger. I don't know. But that's what it was.
Question. From a liability standpoint, we know of these deficiencies at Park Street are now known to us. God forbid something happens. We get a storm, we get a heavy snow load, and let's say a heavy, like a microburst, and it tears part of the roof off because we didn't have the proper wind rating, hurricane, I forget what their hurricane braces, maybe, I forget what the exact term was.
Hurricane clips,
The hurricane clips on there. Are we gonna be covered insurance-wise, because we're,
Probably
things-
because it was probably built to code at the time that it was
Exactly.
built, so the insurance would probably cover it.
I just didn't know because, okay, now we know that it's deficient. Does that expose us for a liability?
Well, that's why when you actually,
If we touch it,
when
we
you
have to.
touch it, you have to bring it up, because now you have to bring up the code, because the code no longer will allow you an exemption of whatever you had in the past.
Right.
So once you start building it, you have to bring it up to code.
As soon as we take a hammer out near that building, it's gotta.
There's a threshold, you have to reach a certain threshold of percentage of the building, or square footage. I don't know how your town views on the, different towns have different setups when you go for an appeal, whether it's square footage or dollar amount, value of the building. So each town is different with their permit process.
So we can I know we need a new door and a new window in there that I'm gonna have in my budget for next year. One of the windows is rotted out and stuff that we need to replace, and one of the doors needs to be replaced.
Well, I was down there today. We need to do both.
Both doors?
I looked today.
All right, so I'll have to,
I meant to tell you that.
Overhead doors or man doors?
no, these are
The man doors.
Entry.
entry doors. So both the ones on the DPW side of the building would be done. Okay, so you can do that and not have to worry about bringing the whole building up to code. That's more of a
That's
maintenance repair thing. But if we wanted to put an addition onto it, even if it was a 10 by 20 foot addition, now we're looking at something that's questionable and would have to be up to, under review to see whether it. Now, if we put up a petition wall up in there, like we wanted to divide the 4 bays, the 4 front bays into 2 big bays, and just put like a frame wall in the middle, that probably wouldn't be anything. But if we're gonna, maybe put something, lift the roof on one side and make a second floor up there for some storage or something, that would definitely kick in.
Well, I think no matter, if you do anything on that building with the roof, that all has to come off, because it's not to code.
I
That
believe
was
we built
2019
that, it cost us somewhere around, I want to say somewhere around $180,000,
to build,
that station down there.
yeah,
And we have 40 years out of it, so thank you to the guys that built it, right?
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And another couple more questions, just, thank you for coming, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
In the report, I was gonna say the report, there was talk of sleeping quarters,
Yes.
where it didn't seem to, it mentioned 4, which is what we currently have needs for. And then 2 potentially 2 future students.
One dorm, 2 beds in the student dorm.
Okay. But if we get a 5th firefighter, slap my wrist for saying it, but at some point we're going to need a 5th firefighter. I don't know if it could be in my lifetime or anyone at this table's lifetime. I don't know that. But we're going to need it at some point. And when you're building something like this, I think you need to plan a little bit for the future. Is that going to be? I mean, I don't know how they sleep 4 people in there now. I know they have bunk beds, I think, but
They just-
No, that's right.
They're all in the same room with.
yeah,
Well, three-quarter
I've seen it, but I think there was only 3 at the time. when I
There
saw it.
is only 3. We turned one of the offices into a bedroom.
Okay.
I think it's on the back
So,
page.
in the report, you talk about 4 dorm rooms.
Yeah.
In the spreadsheet, which is correct, you talk about 5 and then 1 student.
Okay.
So the written report has a conflict with what you have on this sheet.
And I didn't read the spreadsheet only because it was really tiny font. And it was
Well,
really,
Really tiny.
and I know I was looking at a computer.
I
but
used not only did I have my glasses on and the lights on, I used a magnifying glass too.
yeah, no, it's
So there's a conflict in that, but the sheet, the spreadsheet is correct.
Okay, we'll make sure this gets corrected.
now that. I had another question. Let's see.
Eric, on that note, during the department meeting about the student dorm room, the question came up, what if you get 1 female student and 1 male student? So,
That's a legitimate question. Why don't you get a
very
female
legitimate.
firefighter?
they'd have to have it set, well, we have it set up so that every firefighter has their own dorm room. But if we get 2 students, 1 male, 1 female, we'd kind of have to fudge that a little bit, and it might, in the grand scheme of things, it might be better to have 2 student dorm rooms, separate ones, the same size as a firefighter's room,
There's
rather
nothing-
than trying to squeeze 2 students.
There's nothing to say we have to accept whatever student is offered us, right? It's a mutual agreement. If we were offered 2 students, 1 male and 1 female, there's nothing to say that we have to accept them. We could say we can only accept 2 male or 2 female students.
You
right?
can't discriminate on the.
You
Okay, so
cannot
you can't do
discriminate.
that.
But
I
we're
understand
going
what you're
through a
saying.
rabbit. I, from my perspective, I think this is an easy solution. I put 2 firefighters in the bunk room, and I put my students in
Well, let's take a
single
step
rooms.
back.
It's not. It's
with
not
the
a huge-
discrimination. let's take a step back on the discrimination. We're not hiring them. That's no discrimination. We're offering to train them.
Oh, okay.
They're not an employee. This is graciousness on our part to offer them the opportunity to obtain training from us.
I'd probably get guidance from Primex and stuff like that on what we would or wouldn't be allowed to do.
I don't see it as being discrimination, saying, hey,
Well,
we don't have the
I'm
ability.
not agreeing or disagreeing with you. I would want to get guidance on that.
Yeah, but
But
Two
that's-
females or two males, period. Simple as that.
That is true.
Yep.
Or nobody. I'm sorry, we can't, if our only choice is one male and one female, I'm sorry, we can't take any students this semester. You know, we'll look at it next semester. I don't see that as a reason to add square footage to our project. Granted, 144 square feet or whatever it is, I don't see that as a valid reason to do it. I think it's gracious on any fire department's part to take in a student.
Okay.
On Park Street, you hit water at, I think, 6 to 9 feet.
Excuse me?
On Park Street, you hit water at 6 to 9 feet.
Between 9 and 14 in all
9 and
holes.
14, okay.
Yeah.
So can that be, any of that be contributed to the extremely, and obviously we could have another wet year in 10 years, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, last night on my way home it was pouring, the city of Leominster got flooded out. So, it's been a horrible year for the water. But your ground table, your water table, when you do a deep hole, you'll see the modeling in the soil.
Yeah.
And it's not much different than what it usually is in the groundwater right
No.
now.
So it's almost.
I think there must be a river right there that leaches out into,
Yeah, there is,
There's a stream right
there's a stream
Yeah.
back there, so, or a brook, or
probably what it is.
might be a river.
There's a lot of water this year.
And I just thought of my other thing. Previous commissioner at one point said, well, we can just build the addition on at Park Street and be 2 inches from the existing building, and we don't have to touch Park Street.
Someone asked us that last night, and it's gonna be dependent upon what your planning board rules are in town. Some towns are only one building on a lot, one major structure. So again, we'd have to get into your planning board and see what your town bylaws say.
I personally have a huge problem with that. You're gonna put up what I would consider a modern,
No,
state-of-the-art fire station, and you're gonna put it off to the side so you don't have to bring up the rest of your facility to that standard, but you're gonna store hundreds and millions of dollars of equipment in there and have people working in it. It just seems
I
like
just know the
know,
question's gonna come up, because he already
the
said it came
deputy
up last
chief
night.
here goes out and does inspections on people's properties, and, you know, they need to meet all of the code, but we're saying we don't have to.
I just know the question's gonna come up, so let's just have the answer.
Well, I think the more important question is, does it make sense to do that? You know,
I don't think it does personally. That's
Well,
my
for the
personal
program, it certainly doesn't.
right.
Well, I think at that point, you may get back into the liability that somebody brought up earlier. Are you liable for not fixing things that you knew about when you spend that much money on the property?
Yeah.
And you're also excavating right next to a foundation of a building that has a cracked floor already. Do you want to excavate, you want to excavate right next to it and have it?
Well, that's why we have the one-sided wall figured in the Park Street station as well, which, you know, down the road as we get further into schematics and further design structurally, we may be able to eliminate some of that, but I still think you need most of that one-sided wall poured against the other foundation, just because of the load that you're gonna be putting in that building, and you don't want that to push that foundation under. It wasn't designed for the load that you're gonna put in that building beside it, so it's made for vertical.
Not a lateral
Pressure.
load, just a vertical load.
Right, now you have a
And-
lateral load pushing against it, what is that gonna do to that foundation that's there?
Look at the lean-to on the fire station, South Street.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different, but I said it last night, and I'll say it again, it's a very tough site to build on, because of the existing wastewater, the sewer treatment leaching field that's there, that all has to be removed. And don't just remove the field, you have to remove below it to make sure that you have any of the soils that are there removed that are contaminated with the septic system. Also, you have a tank that's there, and then there's a lot of fill that was brought in there. We're talking about 10 feet of fill going in certain areas on that site to get up to the floor level, so we can replace the floor. So I think you're 6 feet below right now where the backside of the septic is, and we're figuring probably 4 feet of the septic system, usually 3-foot deep trenches. So that all have to come out, bring that back in. So we actually got numbers from a site contractor for the sites. So it's not just an estimated number, it's a very good number for what we'd have to do to that site to put a building on it.
And
Both sites.
And that brings up a good point, Paul, when you get looking at the numbers and stuff, the excavation costs are not in the space needs study. You gotta go to the geotechnical study in order to get the site costs.
And on page 8 of the report. We did that so it wouldn't hinder the thought of the building itself, because the site is a lopsided number on one or the other. So.
Yes, I guess there's a lot to think about here.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's not an easy decision you have to make. And you have to wonder about how the townspeople are gonna vote for it too, in the district, both towns.
And you're right, we can throw what we want, but it's not really up to us.
And it goes back to educating all the other questions that Eric and you brought up. The good points that somebody's gonna bring them up somewhere along the road, and to have the answers to them ahead of time is huge.
I mean, I'm actually, I don't know what to say, so the number on page 8 of Space Needs, I don't wanna say the numbers, because when things get said, they get taken as
That's
gospel.
the number, right, yeah.
Right, so I was just gonna say that number is not much higher than what the police station was built for, fully furnished, with grants and things like that. That's a 12,000, I believe that's roughly a 12,000 square foot building.
Well, that's only one of your numbers.
No, I know that, but that's building a site specific without doing anything to the other.
So the other thought, I don't know when the fire station, the police station was built,
Just a couple of years ago.
and your requirements for your structural load are a lot different on the fire station than they are on the police station, just because of the weight of the trucks and what you're gonna be doing in that building. So there's a lot to be said about the slabs alone. I don't have the spreadsheet where I went through it, but the concrete numbers were pretty high, because you have a double number 5 mat in those floors. You have drainage that goes through them. We don't have that in the police station, because you're not bringing trucks in there, the weight of the trucks. And it's an 8-inch slab, and we figured a radiant floor in that whole apparatus bay.
Well, I remember the contractor saying that if we had built that the year that we were open, it would be double the price. So.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was right at COVID. It was right after COVID.
Yeah, well, construction costs are very high right now. Materials are high, and they're not gonna get any cheaper based on what I'm seeing. It's-
Every year we wait, it's going to be more. I can't wait to see what the building's going to be.
So I guess, Paul, the next question is, when do you need an answer from us?
It's not when I need an answer from you, it's when Jim needs an answer from you. So my intention is at next Tuesday's meeting is to complete that meeting with our recommendation to you, okay? And I will distribute that, or Tim, I'll either email you, or the chief will distribute it, or Tim will. I guess it doesn't much matter. But my goal is, at the end of next Tuesday's meeting, give you guys direction, official direction, from the building committee. And then it's incumbent upon you to, as quickly as possible, get your decision to Jim such that he can get working on the schematic diagrams and the public outreach portion of it.
we did discuss that last night too. We're gonna start working on the schematic now, getting our building MEPs in line of what we're gonna be needing, and then start figuring out what spaces need to be what, and where they need to be associated with as far as alignment with pieces that you want away from the bunk rooms, pieces that you want near the bunk rooms, pieces that you want near the living quarters, how your kitchen's gonna be laid out. We had a good meeting with the firefighters the other day in the space needs study. A lot of that, it's starting to come together. But we're only designing one building, one on Park Street and the one on Sanborn Road are completely different stations. So you don't wanna go too far down the rabbit hole before we start getting things in order.
I did ask Jim last night for a new Gantt chart on the project because we're 2 months behind. We're,
Oh, yeah.
We're like 3 months behind. And if, our goal hasn't changed, the date of our completion has not changed. Everything has changed up to that, all right? So that puts Jim and his crew under tremendous pressure to get us what we need by next March. So what I want to do is make sure that Jim's capable of providing us what we need in that very limited time. I mean, we're killing this guy because of the time crunch he's under now. So last night when two people said they hadn't had the opportunity to look at it, I was extremely disappointed because I'm trying to stress to everybody, we need to keep this ball rolling. We can't wait a week, we can't wait a month. If we're gonna present it this year, we need to keep it going. So that's my goal, is to keep it going.
Well, I think that, and to tie into that, the bigger part of this is educating the communities about what's gonna happen here. Because you don't wanna hear questions the first time at a bond hearing. You need to have those answers ahead of time, and people need to be educated when they go to that bond hearing and understand what they're voting for. Otherwise, you're getting no votes right from there just because they don't know.
I have a question. So your meeting on the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Our next meeting is the 2nd. Can our decision wait until the 2nd, or should we meet the week of the 25th?
You should meet on the
Probably on
20th,
the 20th.
I'm out of town.
Yeah.
then the 21st.
Two
I'm out of
commissioners are out of town.
I'm on vacation next week. I'll be on the
Then
cruise.
the first available date.
I can't
Now,
do
I'm
the
just
25th.
being.
No, no, that's why I'm asking the question. The first day I'm back is the 25th.
From my perspective, you should meet on the 25th. But, I mean, to me, it's that critical. To me, it's that critical.
How about Tuesday the 26th?
I can do the 26th, but not the 25th.
Have fun, I'm going.
Okay.
I have a meeting at the store. I have
Yeah.
to be there.
Yeah, let's do it. For me, I mean, I would say, because that's why I'm asking, like the delay of basically 2 weeks, is that that's 2 weeks, it's half a month.
It's a lot of time right now.
14.
It's
Well,
two out of, what do you have, about 16 weeks
If
left.
someone wants to pay for me to have internet on my cruise ship, I'll glad to do it, but I may be drunk, so.
Well, I would suggest we have a meeting on the 26th.
It's fine with me, yeah.
And I also think that the building committee or the commission should start thinking about how they want to start with the public outreach, and who you want to reach out to first, and start getting some of the information that we're going to want to put in to make sure we have the spaces and the allocation of items that are going to come up and how we're going to address them.
I think the committee should, maybe next Tuesday is the second part of that meeting, plan for when would be the first.
Great
time.
idea. So, I'm just gonna throw this out there and get you guys' opinion on it. So, we have a new selectman in Northfield, Ross Cunningham, and he did these listening sessions, okay, at the library. And I attended one of them, and it was great. It was great. He just sat there and people asked him questions, he listened to people's concerns. It was fantastic. I suggest we do something like that. I'm perfectly willing on a Saturday morning at the library, I can make arrangements for 1 or 2 or 3 of us to go down there and just answer questions. 5 people show up, 10 people show up. Every person we educate about this will talk to somebody else, all right? It's a pyramid scheme, okay? Let's talk to someone, that person will talk to 2 people, but the sooner we get it happening, the sooner it's gonna spread throughout town. So I'm perfectly willing to do that, and with my affiliation with the library, I can arrange it for any of us to do that.
How large of space do they have?
They have a space large enough for 20 people easily, or we could go downstairs and there's enough space for 30 people.
It's good size. It's good size.
And actually, you get more from the smaller groups.
Yeah.
I've sat in auditoriums where it just becomes 300 people in there, and they're all fielding questions, and you don't get a lot accomplished. Where you have 4 or 5 people and you educate them very well on what's going on, they will disperse amongst the community and start telling people what's going on with a good educated response, not just a quick, oh yeah, we'll take care of that,
Well, what I would ask is once you guys give direction on which site we're gonna go with, what I would request is, and maybe Jim could help with this, because this is part of your contract also, is provide large, just B size or C size, but color layouts of the lots, both of them, because it's gonna come up, why'd you choose one over the other? You look tired, chief. And when we get such that we have a building, things like that, visuals, let's provide visuals.
Yes. And we talked about doing a rendering too. For that, so.
And, I mean, you don't have to be involved initially. I think it's more important for us to get out initially and then bring you in, a month or 6 weeks before
Your initial meetings, from my history in the past, being a selectman and being involved in the permanent building committee in town, built a bunch of buildings. When we brought the architects and designers in to meetings, it become more about what's going to happen rather than what we need and what we're looking at and how you're going to go about it. So the whole topics of conversations completely changed. And you didn't get a lot of information that you wanted as to what was going to happen versus what they didn't want, what they saw, and why you're doing what you're doing. So I think initially it's better that you guys take on, maybe it's a couple of the captains that go in and have some of the people that know them come in and start talking to them, or the chief, or whoever's a friendly face in town that people feel comfortable talking to, or people on the building committee. That's where you're going to get most of your questions from. People that are close to their hand on it. And people that really don't want it. There's going to be some people that are just going to say, you know what, no matter what you do, you could give it to me, I don't want it.
So let's talk about a timeline. So if the committee meets next week on the 19th, the commissioners meet on the 25th,
Mm-hmm.
we're able to provide some direction to Jim on the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
How soon after that can we have some basic materials together to have that listening session?
I think we could take some information out of the space needs and the geo report and put things together, but I think it'd be too early to get the schematics into it. That's in 2 weeks from now is the 26th, and then you're talking probably,
So we're gonna meet on the 26th,
The
not
26th, right,
26th.
Tuesday.
yes.
and that's,
I mean, Paul, could we do something on the 30th?
The
Is that
30th
Saturday?
of October?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
30th September.
September. The following Saturday.
I don't think you would have any schematics or anything at that point.
No, but if we had,
We can do those and blow them up and get you these space,
We
the
talked about
space.
last night.
Okay. Or maybe the next weekend. How many weeks?
It's Columbus Day weekend is the following weekend, just.
The 7th is
I think for me personally, Tim, probably the 21st, Saturday the 21st would be the soonest I'd be able to do it.
Oh, because you're going to be away.
Uh,
Something.
probably Saturday, October 25th. And I'd be willing to do like every other Saturday at the library, or every Saturday.
There's another thing you have to realize is that in January, you have to start holding, you have to have your bond hearing. If you're going for a bond in 2024, it's like the middle of January. I don't have the date yet, but
You have to have all your documents and
you have to have all your documents and have everything ready to go. Have your hearing, bond public hearing, middle of January. Sorry,
That'd be
it's
16
just
weeks.
really
you're really,
pushed us.
sorry.
It was good to know that date.
I'm looking to see if I can find it now.
Would we have that the same night as any of the other hearings that we have to have, or those are later on?
Those are later on. This is strictly a bond. Let's see, it's not here. It's, it hasn't been posted yet.
Would it be on,
I'm on there. It hasn't been posted yet.
This is that check, and it's a little bit smaller than those, but it's
Okay.
big enough to get.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can read that.
Well, then, Paul, I would suggest that the committee, if they're in agreement with that philosophy, that you move forward with scheduling that day,
Well,
the
why don't
21st.
I'll
Am I
talk-
speaking out of,
No, go ahead.
I'll talk with Brittany. She will have no problem.
January 12th is the first bond hearing date.
when was the last bond?
That is the first date to have a hearing on the bond.
What's the
And
last
the
date?
last date, I'm looking, they haven't published the calendar yet, so it's like searching.
gonna
for stuff.
calculate it up, so.
Yeah.
That's a Friday.
Yeah.
So,
It is. The last public hearing on a bond is February 19th. That's the last date,
That's a Monday. That's President's Day.
yes.
Yep.
And then you can have another one on the 26th of February.
You have to have two bond hearings?
I will know more as soon
I
as
think
they,
if something significantly changes
It-
from the first hearing, you have to have a second hearing.
yeah. So,
Oh, what date were you doing in the library? October 21st?
that'll be the first one.
yeah,
Paul, are you
February
okay with
26th
that?
is the last
Fine.
day to hold a public hearing on a bond.
What date? I didn't hear.
February
26th.
26th.
It would be my thought that it should only be a couple people. I'm happy to go, you, maybe Lisa.
Yep. Well, I guess what I would suggest is maybe one commissioner and one building committee member. And I guess initially what I would suggest is like every other week, schedule one. And
Get a different commissioner to go each time?
Is there a football team in town? High school football team?
no.
Well, there is.
We're not into sports like most towns.
No.
Well,
Because
the
that's-
high school does have a football team, but it's a regional, it's Northfield, it's
Well,
Tilton, and
it's just
Sandwich.
one more town then.
Yeah.
So, you know, a good place to hit people up is just have a table at a football game and have some of the documents out there. People come over, ask what's going on, talk about
Soccer
it.
games.
Educate them.
See
a
how the
little
team
bit.
does, I don't know how they did theirs.
Well, I'm not
They
into
dropped
that,
like
but
flies at the last
if
game.
anyone else is into that, you're welcome to.
They have home games the 23rd, the 30th, and October 28th.
Because you're gonna get different groups of people that are gonna go to the library versus,
Right.
you know, so you wanna try to hit as many people as you can in different venues.
So, there you go. Eric, you look like a football player.
Yeah, soccer, I play soccer.
What a basketball team's gonna be starting up soon, you know.
Yeah.
It's-
I guess probably the only one would be October 28th. The other two are in September.
What about the, like the
Yeah, but you
local
could- you
Rotary Club?
Yeah,
They always invite me, usually once a year, to sit down with them. and talk.
I know this is, you may get cooperation if you had a flyer and a roll of tape. Tilton House may let you tape them to the boxes.
Well, you know, honestly, that brings up a good point, is I think we need a handout to give to people with the important numbers on it, okay? Such that they can go home and digest it, right?
We have a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and I'll bring that up, that we should put together a flyer that, some information there, we'll go over it with Chief as far as what you feel is pertinent that the town would be looking at. And let's make it a two-sided thing that you could
Perfect.
pretty easily hand out.
Here, take this home. Call if you have any questions.
Yeah, I
Call the
mean,
chief at home.
This is the only phone number they got that.
I'll call Paul.
yeah, it does. You've seen it in the past, you had 3 votes that failed, right? Because I don't know what the reasons were, but maybe if you educated people more and were a little bit ahead of it, it may not have went the way it went.
Okay, so I'm sorry to go back to this, but I want to kind of set up a schedule. I'll have Brittany on the hook at the library. You guys think once every 2 weeks is too often, or?
I would try maybe a week or two and see how it goes. If it goes good, then why not? I mean, if you go there the first week and nobody shows up the second week, might not be good to go the third week.
Yeah,
Might try something else.
grab to see the coffee shop.
So,
We don't have it. Dunkin' Donuts. Could be Dunkin' Donuts, instead of Dunkin' Donuts in
Yeah, send it to
West
them.
Tilton.
And it might be a good idea.
Instead of
if-
Tilton House and have a pizza and beer with a commissioner and a building committee member.
If you do, Paul, is if you get handouts, so you can hand them up there. You know, if people come, you can hand them that. Let them take, if they don't want to stay, then, you know, you get some handouts to give them.
yeah, without question.
So of the number of people in the district, how many people actually voted on the last?
50, something like
Well, I
that.
mean, at the district meet, who came to the
Who
district?
came to the bond hearing to vote for or against the last station?
I think,
Well, the last station back in 2016, that meeting, we held that meeting at the gymnasium at the middle school. I don't know how many
it's
people were there.
150 something.
Yeah, there was about 100
Yeah.
and some odd people.
So
We're not talking hundreds, it's 100 and.
yeah, well, that's usually happens. I live in a town of 14,000 and 70 people come out to vote for the town. You have to find out who those 70 people are.
Yeah, Target.
I mean, that's important. You know,
A
who you-
lot
who
of
you
time,
vote
a lot of
against.
times you got those who don't want something, they're always there.
Exactly.
Them are the ones.
You
Well,
have
so-
your perennial naysayers.
Yeah, but then you find out that's gonna go your way, then you gotta find
So
70
then
to
we gotta
count on.
find, right, we gotta find out.
Okay, so back to, sorry, keep circling back because I need finality on this. So my recommendation is Paul, the building committee chairperson, and the commissioner at these meetings. So, does one of the commissioners volunteer for October 21st, a Saturday? And I'm talking like from 10 o'clock in the morning to 11:30 or so. The other dates would be November 4th, which is a Saturday, or November 18th, which is a Saturday. And, you know, contingent upon the response continuing into January. And I'm perfectly happy with doing every other week. And
Just gonna throw something out there, because it's a date and you're looking for dates. December 2nd, I believe, will be the Christmas parade. So we wanna make sure that we have handouts on that day.
okay, I'm not a cold weather person. I'm not standing out in the cold handing out flyers, so I'll leave that to you guys.
But I'm just saying, if we're just
Okay.
talking.
I know my limits. Freezing my ass off is not one of them.
Well, the way this year's
Sorry-
going, it could be
sorry,
90
Courtney.
and raining, I don't know.
It'll be raining for sure.
All right,
So what was the first date you said?
the 21st of October.
I'm available, I can do that.
I'll do the first one if you want.
All right, there you go.
All right, so I'm putting it on your calendar.
What time? 10,
Yes,
10 to no later than noon.
yeah, so 10 to 11:30.
And this
Yeah,
is
you
at
wanna
Memorial Hall.
target, you wanna target zone, so you're not waiting all day for 3 people to show up.
Right.
So if you tell them, is there a public site that's not the fire department site that you can put, like,
Just
Town
Facebook,
sites.
just Facebook.
Yeah, we can put it on the town of Northfield. Tilton doesn't have a website, right?
They have a website, but
It's not
It's
like,
not informational.
yeah, it
Okay,
I
doesn't.
would, I would,
we
well,
can
they'll
put it on
have
the fire
no, they have
department.
I haven't
The
seen.
library is fine putting it on their website.
Yeah, Northfield
Okay.
will put it in their town
flyer.
flyer that they email out. and then you put it on the Facebook,
Okay, so I'm gonna
Chapters.
take care of the library's website.
yeah. If someone gives me the verbiage, I'll get it out on social media.
We'll tell them to put it on their flashing board.
On the
Sure.
message board?
We can write a letter and,
Yeah,
You
we
know,
have
put it
to-
on like the one that's taught, because they're doing the Rotary and KFL Road, they have that.
yeah, we,
Flashing
yeah,
at the-
yeah.
We have to request,
You have to write it, request it, write it
yeah.
down. Have to request it in writing. That's what the school board does for their meetings. They've requested that of,
Do you think you could have, if we give you direction by the end of this month, do you think you could have flyers printed?
We're gonna work on some preliminary ones to get to you by the 22nd, with some information with blank holes in it that, you know, for a schematic, some kind of a design or whatever.
Okay.
But we'll get the information that we're gonna want on there, an outline to you by the 22nd, next Friday. That way you have time to review it and make sure what you want.
The 4th of November or the 18th of November?
I'm available either.
yeah, I am
think.
too. I am too. I'm not available this Thanksgiving weekend because I gotta go to a wedding in New Jersey.
All right, I'll do
So-
the 4th, and,
Eric will do the 18th.
you know, if there's a problem, Eric and I will converse.
Thank you,
And you're
gentlemen.
gonna be there all these times,
I'll
Paul?
be there each time.
Okay.
And it would be, I think, I don't know, I'll leave it up to you, Paul, but if you can get a different member from the committee to come each time.
Yeah, I can, Yep.
It might be a good idea to bring in maybe another person from committee. I mean, if people are gonna go there and they know you, but they may know, say Lisa,
sure,
she might have more friends that would come and see her.
gotcha.
So maybe both of you, they and the commissioner that day,
Gotcha.
or, yeah,
Yeah, we'll bring that up at the, at our next meeting and ask for volunteers.
yeah.
And we can continue that on as we get closer because, you know, it's gonna become more in the forefront of people's minds.
Okay, and
as
what are the hours that you're gonna be there?
10 to 11:30? Or 10 to closing?
You said the 14th?
10 do you leave?
No, you
And,
don't.
no, for,
No, I'm just putting them down. No, so
All right, so I've got those 3 dates, so it'll
So-
be on your calendar, guys.
I can have Brittany do up the graphics of a, you know, a posting to put on.
Perfect.
Anywhere else we can find to put it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It'll be a
10 to
PDF or
Make
something.
it shareable.
We'll do 11:30.
Okay. I'm telling you, they're the graphics experts. I just say, this is what I want, and they do it.
Somebody can get it, you can copy and repost or share it, otherwise you get it, you can't share it unless, yeah.
Yeah, I'm stupid when it comes to that, but yeah, they got it figured out. Okay,
So I'll include
I'll
it on
talk
your
with Brittany
October
tomorrow.
and November calendar,
Thank you.
so that you'll remember.
okay. Sorry to take up so much
That's
time,
all right.
gentlemen, but this is
Well,
important.
this is a good meeting, this is very good. Very
it's
helpful.
good, worth it. Important.
How many evenings have we wasted in the past 20 years trying to get this done? Let's make this the last year of wasted meetings, please.
Any other questions for anybody?
Good.
No, thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Paul, your meeting next Tuesday is at 5:30?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Sure. Thank you.
And you'll post that, right?
I will
Well, thank you,
post
guys.
it,
Thank you.
and I'll
Any
email
other
out
questions, or-
where it's gonna be.
I
We did,
Yeah.
sent you an email earlier today.
Okay.
Lisa's question,
Yes.
that I responded to.
No, it's
On the sidewalk in
Oh, no,
front of
after
Tilton
that,
Town
yes.
Hall.
You don't have to answer tonight.
No, no.
Bring your lawn
It's,
chairs.
it's for like that,
Well, we could always do
if
that.
anybody else has questions, but.
Sure. And we did say last night we're gonna start an RFI, well, so if anybody has questions, we'll go through chief, and then he'll send Russ, and we'll keep a running account of all the questions and all the answers, so maybe we'll put them in a Dropbox or just send it back, you guys can do what you want.
Okay, sounds good. Great,
Thank you.
thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for your time, appreciate it, and
I'll look forward to it.
look forward to hearing from you next Tuesday, or the 26th,
Right.
Okay,
right?
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm
Cornell?
gonna
Nope.
I got a binder.
I
I'll just do a
Thank
binder.
you.
Yeah,
Section.
Thanks, Jim.
There are copies under there for everybody too,
Yes,
so
thank
you can
you.
read it.
I do have to leave in 20 minutes or so.
Huh?
I have to leave in 20 minutes. I have a moose tour.
Where do you start at?
Lincoln, so I gotta be at Lincoln by 8.
Okay, we move on, correspondence.
Okay.
I'm interested to see what this top one is.
Oh.
You didn't get one of those
Franklin
in the mail?
Savings
from
Bank.
one of
Franklin
your other
Savings
accounts?
Bank.
I don't have
Yes.
anything in Franklin City.
We received notification that their third-party service provider had a cyber incident.
Oh, okay.
So they were just notifying us, they don't believe there's any issues with us.
No, I get those daily.
So that's what that was about.
Okay.
When did you receive that?
Pardon?
When did you receive that?
Probably about a
15th.
week ago.
August 17th.
3 weeks.
So we're all set with that, and the other two, I think we went over that
You
pretty
have,
thorough.
yep.
And the building committee,
Yep.
site recommended, we went over that. Let's go to the chief's report.
Okay, I sent the chief's report out to you gentlemen last Friday. Unless you have any questions?
I did have a question,
Sure.
if I can jump in.
Go ahead.
Just, it's probably just a grammatical thing, but it's also a mathematical thing.
Okay.
On,
Yes, on overlapping simultaneous incidents, ambulances.
yeah, it's
The
like,
two things got flipped there.
So, you know, what is it supposed to be? That's what I've got
It's,
highlighted.
okay, we received 10 mutual aid responses, 8 of them were transported
by us or by the other department?
by others.
Okay,
We responded to mutual aid requests and we transported one. So
Gotcha.
somehow I
that's what I
transported
figured,
stuff.
but that's just for sure. Great, we'll get that plow right after the snow season.
So why did we need 10 ambulance responses?
Because one of our ambulances is out being serviced. And we transported more patients last month than I think we've ever transported.
I've never seen, what did I don't have the
119.
119 transports.
And
Usually
then
we're at
plus-
80, 85 transports. We had 100. The call volume was a little higher than average, but 208 isn't crazy. But the 119 transports, and I think we're going to be there again. We
We're very busy.
we are
It's
the
crazy.
ambulances.
And you'll see that 75% of our call volume was EMS in nature. So,
Well, it's the same. On Friday, you had 14 calls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
On Saturday, you had 12.
Mhm.
I'm glad you're counting. The guys are telling me. So I haven't done my September
So
hours yet.
the average is what, 6?
I think yeah, somewhere around there, right around 6.
So it's like, there's rarely a day where it's under 6.
What's it, can it be attributed to anything?
I don't know. I know we have an aging population, and that happens every time you have an aging population. As they, it's not. I can tell you, like in years past, we've had customers, I'll call them, that we've brought 70 or 80 times a year. We don't have one of
Don't
those
have
right
it.
now. It is not the
It
same.
doesn't seem like you're not going to the same address. all the time.
No.
You know, it used to over the years, we'd get one and then another and then another, and it's not that right now. Right now, it is spread throughout the district. And it's,
So 119 ambulance transports.
that's
How many-
transports.
How many of those went to Concord?
I don't want, I can tell you if I find my email that I sent to them. I send a monthly.
Only because that's a time suck, no offense.
Well, they did, I mean, we just have to bring, we have to transport per protocol.
And I'm not questioning it,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, because I know that takes more time and puts more miles on the ambulance, wear and tear.
Does it? Does it?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
I would imagine it does.
No, I would imagine and I'm sure are two different things. I'm just saying,
As a,
because for me, where I live in Northfield, it's easier, quicker, shorter for me to get to Concord
Sure, I got the
than it
email.
is to get to
What
Lacombe.
day did I send it?
So I'm just saying,
September 5th.
be sure,
my wife works at Concord Hospital, so occasionally I drive her to work, and
yeah?
I don't time it
Well, I don't
going
know.
to either of the other hospitals.
75 went to Franklin, 19 to Laconia, and 25 to Concord.
Oh, I thought it'd be a lot higher than Concord. So.
I think we average right around 61% to Franklin, and then it's kind of split
The other
between
two are kind of even.
Yeah, it depends on the month. I haven't run a yearly report on that in a while. I run a monthly report every month.
We do have couple quick questions on the training for the new administrator.
Yep.
She already started,
She starts next Monday, on the
and
18th.
her hours are going to be the same as Beth.
No, her hours are 8 to 1, Monday through Friday.
more
The-
hours.
No,
One more.
the number of hours are the same, it's
Yeah.
just shifted a little.
So it is more hours? Or it's the same amount of hours? That's what I'm asking.
It's one more hour. She's 5 more hours a week.
So it's just one more hour a week?
A day.
A
One
day.
more hour a day. She's
So-
working 5 hours a day.
Okay. I'm just, I wish we would have known that, but I guess it's too late now to say anything, but.
It's needed.
Huh?
It's needed.
Well, I'm not saying it ain't, but, it should have been nice to bring it up before that.
Well, she's gonna be working 40 hours next week and the week after because I have to get her up to speed before I go on vacation.
Okay.
Then your vacation week should be working 40 hours.
That is the
Right,
second
that
week.
is the second week.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, and the other thing I have is, it says here, having problems getting information from the PD.
Yeah, so with the motor vehicle accidents, we can bill for those. We have a billing company that's our agent that's supposed to be able to get information from the police department so that we can send the bill to the appropriate insurance company. Some police departments look at there's a privacy protection law in New Hampshire. So like, if we call the police department, they'll give us the information because we're allowed to get the information, but they think that this company isn't allowed to get the insurance information. But the caveat is, it's not the collection agency, they're agents for the fire department. We hired them to do that work for us, and so we're trying to work through that right now with the police departments. So that's what that is.
I had a question about the ambulance billing rates. And what's the maximum amount that we can bill for an ambulance call? Because I seem to remember, what brought this up was we had that, you had provided some insurance company information which showed that, Medicare paid X amount of dollars. And, we had talked about every time the ambulance rolls out, it's substantially more of a cost. Do we charge the real cost? I mean,
No.
and why don't we? Or how is the rate calculated? If it costs us, $1,000, do we charge $1,000?
Because basically, the insurance companies base their rates on Medicare reimbursement. We charge more than what Medicare reimbursement allows, but so say we take somebody who is on Medicare to the hospital, and it cost us $2,000 because they were very sick. We only get $500. If we take somebody who has Harvard Pilgrim to the hospital for the same thing, Harvard Pilgrim pays us basically the same thing because that's what they allow. And that's when we send, if they're not within the fire district, residents of the fire, that's when we send them a balance bill.
And what's the balance based on? What's
The full amount
of
the $2,000, of what we're charging for that rate, which is somewhere, for a very sick person, it's an ALS2 call is like 1,900 and change. I forget the exact number off the top of my head.
So you would charge for the whole amount?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you look at the whole scheme of things, what we bill out for what our costs are, and what we receive only like 38% of what we bill. What we do receive is like 85% of what's allowable by Medicare and the insurance companies.
So when we're going to the police reports for like a car accident, does that change? So now we've sent a fire truck to the scene and an ambulance. Are we allowed to charge more?
So there's two bills in that respect. There's a bill for the ambulance service. And
Which may have all the same limitations that you just described.
Yes. And there's a bill for the fire department response if they did anything there. If they didn't do anything, we don't send a bill. But if they did traffic control, they did hazmat cleanup, they auto extrication, the bill for a fire department response where we do something is a flat rate $1,500.
And do insurance companies typically pay that?
The ones that we've been able to send out have paid us. All insurance companies have, in their policies, they have an amount set aside for fire department responses, and we collect them as much as we can for that. Different insurance companies have different amounts. What I also can say is that I am on a statewide ambulance billing committee right now, representing the New Hampshire Association of Fire Chiefs, but really, I'm trying to protect us and every other municipal fire department service, because there's a huge push to eliminate balance billing. Well, that's not fair, because if you're a private ambulance, you're trying to run at a profit, and they balance bill and they chase everybody. We don't chase anybody, really.
Right.
What we'll do is we'll send a few notices, and if you deservingly go to collections, we don't take anybody to court. The private services take people to court. But a municipal ambulance service, all we're trying to do is try and recover some of our costs,
Right.
so that the whole cost of the service isn't on the taxpayer.
Right.
I mean, there's a cost for having a readiness, and that's basically what the taxpayer should bear. But once we're responding and providing services, whoever use a fee, if you will, should be allowed. And so the statewide committee, which is comprised of private ambulance people, there's legislatures, senators, House reps and stuff. The insurance commissioner is involved in it, who I know, because he played baseball with my son in high school.
So like this issue with the PD, is that, I mean, what's that costing us in uncharged?
Fees.
I mean, we missing out on a lot of
Yeah, right now
reimbursement we should be getting?
we're missing out on some reimbursements that we should be getting because of our some of the difficulties we're having in some of the police departments. We're trying to work through that, trying to get legal opinion so that the police chief or it's not even the chiefs, it's the administrative staff within the police departments that kind of control that flow.
And is it most of that would be Tilton Northfield?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I want to go back to the administrator. I mean, the person we hired here. What I'd like to know is, she's working what, 5 hours a day, right?
Mhm.
Does that give her any benefits? Do we have to pay for benefits by her working 5
No.
hours?
No.
So there's no benefits at all?
No.
Okay, the other question I want to know.
Well, there's workman's comp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand
Have
that. The other thing, we budgeted to have a part-time person, and now we're getting an extra an hour every day. It's 5 hours a week. I'd like to know what it costs a year for that extra hour. And I don't need to know right yet, but maybe next time.
Well, this year it's not going to cost you anything because we haven't had anybody for so long.
I understand this year it's not, but what about next year?
Hold on a second.
We'll figure that out.
It's 20 hours a week, 5 hours
5
a
hours a
week.
week.
5 times 20 is $100,
Times 52.
times 52,
It's $200
$5,200,
plus associated taxes and then taxes.
basically, yeah.
I mean, it's just,
That's just round numbers.
huh?
That's just round numbers
Yeah.
because,
It's just, all I'm trying to do, we gotta be careful, because like I said, if we wanna hire 4 more guys this year, we keep adding these things on, and it's not gonna happen. So I'm just, fair warning. So we have to be careful. Like I said, it's nice to have 4 guys on, there's no doubt about it, and we need 4 guys. But if we just keep adding things on here and there, people are they're gonna look at us like, okay.
Can I ask a question about the chief's report? And I'm sure you guys have discussed this. Pickup truck with a plow. Was that on the capital improvement plan, or the capital improvement plan for this year?
We moved it up a year, I think.
You moved it up a year.
Because
because,
We had to, that's, what we have now is
Our
a clam.
our plow right now has severe rust holes. I'm crossing fingers it makes it through the winter. There's some significant, it's from 2005, I believe, Chief. It was pre-made before me. And the truck itself is getting more and more expensive to fix, and it's got some rot issues through the rockers and the doors.
you're chasing your tail when you're fixing rust.
So Paul, what the commissioners decided last month, I believe, was that we needed to place the orders so that we could get them, but there's a caveat in there, if they're not approved in the budget, we don't have to buy them. This or the ambulance.
So the truck is planned for next year.
Yeah,
Which-
the truck had to be ordered so far in advance.
Right. But it'll be in next year, which it was planned in next year's capital improvement plan anyways, right? And the ambulance, this is to replace A1.
My plan, it would be just to keep 3 ambulances at this point.
So this would be a third,
Yes.
okay.
And I think it is in the right date for the replacement of the A1.
Yeah, it's in
when
the
it
capital
arrives-
improvement plan to replace anyway.
But instead of trading it in, we're gonna keep it.
Okay, so this, I'm gonna repeat what you just said, just to make sure I understand. In 2 years, you have replacement for A1 in the capital improvement plan.
Yes.
But your plan is to keep A1 and make this new one A3.
Yes.
So, in 2 years, you're gonna have to outfit a third ambulance, right? This one.
That's one option, or just keep one off the side, and then when one of them needs to be, one of the other ones needs to be serviced or repaired or something like that, move equipment.
How long does it take to move the equipment from one to the other?
Depends on how much of it you want to move.
How much would you want to move?
Ideally, none of it, but we have to, this
Okay,
is
so-
one of the, we haven't had this discussion yet with the commissioners.
How much would it cost to
Fully equipped,
outfit?
to fully outfit with the cardiac monitor and the CPR machine and all that kind of stuff is about $575.
The question would be, would you completely outfit?
That's something that we have to have a discussion about. What's practical, what's not practical.
And then, okay, so this, the new ambulance, you don't have to pay for that till it comes in the 2.5 years.
Right.
And it's planned for capital improvement on that, in that year anyways.
Yes.
If you completely outfit, it's gonna be $575,000 more than just the cost of the ambulance.
No, that's
No.
including the cost of the ambulance.
How much does it cost to outfit the ambulance?
The ambulance is going to be about $165,000
Is the outfit cost?
is the outfit cost.
Used to be able to get those for $300,000.
So
Well,
if you,
the new ambulance will be in the $400,000 range.
so if you buy a new ambulance and use your existing equipment, it's gonna be $400K.
Yes,
If you buy a new one, totally outfit, it's gonna be $575.
yes.
And you'll have 3 completely new ones,
3 completely.
or
furnished.
completely outfitted ones.
That's correct.
Okay. Good luck selling that. I'm just saying, you better be prepared on that one.
I have perfect reasoning in my own mind.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm gonna head out.
Thank you.
And I think if we have that, want to sit down and have that
Yeah,
discussion,
I'd love to.
I will certainly talk to you about it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Okay. Not tonight, though.
Okay.
You guys got other stuff on your agenda. All right. Good night.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Paul.
You too.
You too. Thanks for coming, Paul. Thank you for your time on the committee.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, old business site selection. I think we can-
We beat that one to death this week, huh?
yeah,
That was-
nothing there. Anybody got any?
No.
Let's do new business. Southworth Family Trust Fund.
Okay, so, this is a discussion I want to have with the commissioners to see if they want a warrant in the, next district meeting about taking the amount of money which is in the Southwood Family Trust, which we're really not allowed to do anything with, and moving it to the Land and Building Fund. And the amount that's in the Southwood Family Trust is $70,394.10. I think it
What was that fund set up for?
So when Bert Southwick passed away, his estate created the Southwick Family Trust and gave it to us to keep in the bank. And the trust allows us to use the interest earned, but to keep, which is dollars, but to keep the principal intact. I believe if we talk to the Secretary of State and ask if we could move it to, purpose it to a fund,
It's the Department of Trusts.
Department of Trusts.
When was that fund given to the fire department?
When Bert passed away.
Which was,
16, 17,
16, 17 in there.
somewhere around there.
so 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's money just sitting there, and for all intents and purposes, it's not serving us or the fire district any useful purpose.
How much money's in the Land and Building Fund now?
Currently, 700,000.
Hold on. Let me open that folder.
I gotta leave, thank you.
You signed the manifest, yeah?
No, no.
Okay, in the Land and Building Fund, as of August 31st, there is $781,474.70.
I'll give you my 2 cents.
Huh?
So I'll give you my 2 cents.
Go ahead.
You'd like to be appreciative of the fact that money was donated and what was the reason for the donation, and you would like to utilize the funds for that. But at some point in time, and that's my question, is what is that some point in time? You know, it's not like it's, you know, $500 million and we're
No, it's not.
financing the whole town and state on it. So how effective is that fund when they originally set it up as a benefit to the fire department? So, yeah, I'm in total agreement that it ought to be utilized somewhere better than earning dollars of interest a year. I just question whether enough time has passed that you would do that.
You know, my feeling is, it was given to us, which he was generous, and because he gave the town other things, so he gave the library some. The only one he didn't give is the police department. He didn't care for them. But anyhow, he did
He
not.
didn't like him riding around his way.
No. Anyhow, he didn't care for them. And I would like to see the money, if we build a new station, donate, put something in there in memory of him, and use that money for that.
Yep, that would be, if we're allowed to, that would be
Yeah.
good.
I mean, whether you buy something that we need and just put,
The Bert Southwood Conference Room,
yeah, whatever.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, a room, this is donated to, yeah, something like that there.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I like that idea.
Maybe even the kitchen.
I mean, I think people would appreciate,
I'm thinking-
yeah, so,
Was he a firefighter?
no.
No,
Oh,
No, he just delivered us eggs.
he brought us eggs and sausage, took sausage orders.
Yeah.
$37 stove.
We went to a fire at his house one night, he slaughtered a pig right there because it died. He was barefooted.
He was barefoot.
Oh, yeah, he had no electricity or anything in his house.
Wow.
Yeah, he was,
Yeah, I remember going to a chimney fire there.
yeah.
And the pigs are running around in the house
Yeah.
while we're doing the chimney fire.
Yeah.
Well, it was good to get back from war.
All right, thank you. You're just gonna miss the non-public sessions now.
Yeah, it's just minutes, so.
But I think if we do that, naming a room, but I would want it to be something that the public would see as they came and
Recognize
went.
it, yeah. Yeah. So that's my feeling.
Well, do you want me to pursue it with the
State.
state?
I guess it can't hurt to find out.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't hurt.
Right.
Okay, move on. Public review minutes. Public minutes. I did,
I got the minutes weeks ago. 8:15, I got them.
did you review them?
I did.
I did.
Yeah, they look fine to me.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes of 8/8/2003 public meetings.
I'll
That's
second
right.
the motion.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I guess non-public now.
Now we have the minutes of non-public.
Hold that thought for a second, okay?
Okay.
Alright, so this, do you want to handle the other business before you go into non-public?
Any other business in that?
The manifest and then the MS 535?
Yeah, we can do that.
Alright. Oh, I should have had Eric sign it for you.
Okay. Did you?
He's in the back? Oh, it's Sean.
That's Sean, yeah. The MS 535 is the report of, financial report of the budget from last year. And the auditors are the ones that prepare that.
Oh, is this that final audit that we still waiting for?
No, we don't have, we don't have.
No, we
that.
don't have that yet, but this is part of
Is
it.
just this one? I have signed this,
Yes, beside where it says your name, there's a line there.
so it's signature.
Please, and thank you.
Well, we're on any other business. I do have a question. I should have brought in a new business. I guess I'm wondering, I know that you said, the chief said you were retiring somewhere in April. I think that's what you
Next
said.
year. Yeah, I said that, yeah, a
May of
while back.
24.
in May.
Okay,
I thought it was this coming year?
yes.
Yes,
Okay. And is that still your plan?
no. I anticipated my wife wanting to retire, and she informed me a few months ago that she's not gonna retire. So, I decided just to work until she decides she wants to retire, so that I'm not at home sitting on my hands doing nothing. I don't wanna go to Florida by myself or any of that stuff, you know?
I mean, I guess I'm a little disappointed. You know, after yeah, I know you sold your house and you moved and everything, but, you know, knowing that now you're gonna stay another year or two, or however, could be 3 years, could be, I don't know. You know, when people look at it like,
I hope it's sooner than that, but
you all set? Did you sign the paper?
Well, I was just looking through this, I wasn't sure if you wanted to continue that conversation, or you were looking for a comment.
You get
Yeah, I
one?
was wondering the same thing.
I'm just, I mean, I don't know, I just,
when we talked about it originally, that was my
yeah.
full intent.
And I understand things change, I just,
Well, that's it, things change and, you know, it's a, you would hope that your employer was supportive of their employees and looking out for their best interest while also looking out for the best interest of the, you know, the towns we serve.
well, we did, I mean, the agreement was, you know, we figured he was gonna retire, so we give him permission, but sell his house for times for good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and again, we can bring up that whole conversation about, you know, the requirement to live in town. Does that limit your pool of
It does.
employees that you're choosing to hire? And is that in the best interest of the town to make the
No,
chief live
it's-
in town if it prevents you from hiring the best person? So, yeah, I don't look at it as being a terrible thing that the commissioners at that time agreed to, you know, change the employment method.
And I'm not saying it's bad, because Laconia ain't that far away, you know, so I'm not saying it's bad, but, you know, if you hired the chief from Manchester, good does that do you? I mean, he's, what, an hour away from Manchester.
Right.
There are a number of chiefs that live much further away.
I understand,
than that.
I believe the Belmont chief does. I think he does.
The Belmont chief is a female.
Oh, is she?
And she does not live in Belmont either. The Canterbury chief lives in the town, that begins with a G next to Manchester to the west.
Goffstown.
Goffstown. And there are chiefs that do live in their communities, but most of them that I know of, and I know a lot of them, usually not living in their communities because of different circumstances for all of them.
I would think most all, just my opinion, I'm not a firefighter, I never have been, but what percentage of the calls would benefit those receiving the service by having the chief there? I want the paramedic showing up with the ambulance.
I don't know why.
I want the young guy who can carry me down the flight of stairs in the stretcher. I don't think the chief needs to be there for that.
No, he does not have to be there for that. But, you know, if something major, you know, plane crashed into the fire station or something like that, you never know.
But
You never know. It'd
you
be
never
nice
know.
to have him
You
there.
never know, yeah.
I hope I'm not in it when that happens. If it happens, I should say, I'm not saying.
No, I'm just curious. Okay.
I mean, and then you look at, the other aspect I look at is, you know, the time and effort and energy and cost involved in replacing personnel. You know, that at some point when the chief does retire, that we're gonna have to go through. So putting that off for me right now is, I think, you know, okay. Personnel replacement is expensive, as you're finding with your new, right, you're gonna, how much training are you gonna spend with your new assistant?
Well, I know when we have to replace a firefighter, it costs us about $65,000 up front between overtime to replace him, equipping him, all that kind of stuff. It's a considerable expense. You want to retain your employees, you don't want to have to try and replace them if you can.
Okay. We move on. Now we're going non-public.
So, right, so this is where you start.
Can't do all of them together, huh?
No, because they're all different.
Okay.
So, this is what someone needs to make a motion, somebody needs to do that, you need to read that, and then your copies.
So I'll make a motion, we're going non-public at 7:25.
You need to read all that?
I think you need, does he need to read it before I
Yes.
shut it off?
Okay.
Under RSA,
Under RSA :3, matters which discuss in difficult in public would likely affect adversity of the reputation of any person, other including an applicant for assistance or tax abatement or waiver or fine or of a fair fine or a levy based on motion. Roll call. Paul Ogier, yes.
Tim Sattler, yes.
who seconded it?
Oh, I'll second it. And I'll vote yes.
All those in favor, yes.
Yes.
It's recording.
It's on.
Okay, go back in non-public at 7:38.
Do we need to approve these minutes?
Yes.
In public?
Yes.
So
When
before
you're ready, the tape on?
Yes.
Tape is on,
Yep.
yes.
Okay, we were, reviewed the non-public session minutes of August 8th were reviewed and approved. Disposition reports, God, I can't see. Reviewed and, what's that?
Acted upon.
Act upon. So we need to make a motion.
To approve the non-public minutes, yes.
I make a motion, we approve the non-public minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Then move in second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
You have to vote to make those primary?
No. Okay. Non-public session. 2. Do you want Tim to read that?
Yeah, if you
Public
want.
meeting?
I got allergies.
Oh, sorry, what am I reading?
Commissioner,
All right,
you're gonna
Commissioner-
make a motion.
Okay. I make a motion to enter non-public session per RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel either in writing or orally to one or more members of the public body, even where legal counsel is not present. Seconded by
I'll second it.
roll call vote.
Paul Ogier, yes.
Tim Sattler, yes.
What time is it?
It is now
7:40.
7:40.
You didn't do anything.
Do we do roll call? No, we don't have to.
No,
Now,
just, now just
I'll make a motion, we accept
to approve, to approve the minutes.
the minutes of, which ones?
Non-public
Non-public
session 2
2.
from
Two.
August 8th.
2 and,
You can do 3 if you wish.
2 and 3.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, and move in second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That was unanimous.
I know. Goody.
Okay, no public comment. We're back in.
Yeah, you're back.
I guess that's it. I'll make a motion, we adjourn at 7:43.
Second that.
Then move in second, all those in favor?
Aye. Sorry for keeping you so late.